All right, so this is going to be video 2, carrying on from where we left with the last Fourth Amendment video that I was making. The last thing that we covered was the how in Heller they explicitly told you our constitutional rights are enshrined with the scope that they were understood to have when we the people adopted them, and that these historical definitions and everything that that I've been showing and we've been learning, all of these are very crucial to being able to build your defenses and being able to stand on your rights and protect yourself and your families. Now, the common law is presumed liberty. Okay, even Michigan's Constitution, it also preserves the common law. I'll jump right to that provision and show you. Now, here in Michigan Constitution, this is going to be Article 3, Section 7. And it tells you, the common law and the statute laws now in force, now repugnant to this Constitution, shall remain in force until they expire by their own limitations or are changed, amended, or repealed. Now, just like I showed you within this criminal law and procedure manual, when they're training these officers with the sources of law, they completely omit the state and federal constitutions and the common law. They are not using the whole basis of what our state republics, the main laws when they're dealing with the people's life, liberty, and property. They're not even teaching our law enforcement what that is. Now, the common law did not presume government authority, okay? It presumes liberty. That's all of our God-given rights, okay? All of them. There's a whole vast list of them, and I highly encourage, go pull up in Black's Law, go pull up the definition of liberty, and you will see a whole slew of rights and liberties that we have that are reserved from the general powers of our servants. Now, Blackstone also described our absolute rights of individuals as existing before government, okay? And the common law was developed procedures to protect our individual rights. Now we're going to jump to a few of the maxims. Now, even within the law maxims, it explicitly tells you individual liberties are antecedent to all government, because all of our rights and liberties, these all were given to us from our Creator, and all of these existed before our government, and they will exist without our government. Another law maxim, all political powers inherent in the people. What do we see expressly explained to you and shown to you in every one of the state constitutions? All political power is inherent in we the people. All of it. All the power belongs to us. Every bit of it. Okay? There's another law maxim, okay? The law is not to be violated by those in government. Another one. The main object of government is the protection and preservation of personal rights, private property, and public liberty. These principles are what formed the legal tradition inherited by our American founders. The whole foundation of our republics is founded off of these principles. Now, when our public servants, right, and trying to bypass our Fourth Amendment protections, we really need to comprehend what is within our Fifth Amendment due process of law, because this all goes hand in hand, okay? And we'll jump right to Black's Law, Fourth, and it defines due process of law is such an exercise of the powers of government as the settled maxims permit and sanction, and under such safeguards for the protection of individual rights. That's the real due process of law, not their statutory due process that they're giving you under the 14th Amendment. But that's a whole different video, and we'll get into that on a different one. But, okay, so this goes on to explain due process means legal proceedings according to the established course of judicial proceedings. Not administrative, like every one of these state courts that are operating, they're all operating with administrative procedures, not judicial. We also have Cooley explaining that government may exercise only those powers the settled maxims of law permit. So when they're dealing with our life, liberty, and property, they're dealing with the people. All they can operate by is the common law and the settled maxims. That is the due process of law we're afforded. And that also tells you that our Fourth Amendment is a right that is reserved from the general powers of government. So when we're in our cars, right, all of our rights stay intact. It does not matter if you're in the car on the public roads, our public servants still don't have the authority to violate those safeguards. Now, even sitting Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch, also recently summarized the historical understanding by explaining that when government sought to interfere with life, liberty, or property, the common law is required. And he even stated, nothing less than the process and proceedings of the common law. And that is cited right out of the SEC versus Darkesi case. Okay. He further explained the due process historically required independent judges, which we don't have. We have executive branch employees playing dress up in robes as administrative actors. Okay. A notice, opportunity to answer in the established judicial proceedings, not procedures created simply by legislative or administrative preference, which is all they're applying today, and exactly why you see our Fourth Amendment protections getting railroaded. And everything they're doing has been designed to railroad these protections. But this is why we have to take our time to understand these principles, so that we're comprehending them in a way that we are actually able to articulate them. Because our due process of law, okay, was designed to restrain arbitrary governmental action and not to ratify it after the fact. But this is also why they showed you that our rights, just like I showed you in the previous video, our rights are self-executing prohibitions against government action. Okay, now this whole Fourth Amendment stuff, we can get in, it's going to dive a little bit more into like what we see with the flock bullshit. Okay, so that site from United States versus Jones, now that site from Jones I showed you in the last video, okay, destroys all of their bullshit excuses they're trying to use to infringe upon your rights and track and trace you with these flock and mass surveillance systems. Okay, now the manual, the law enforcement manual that we're pulling a lot of this information out of, discusses a cop running a single license plate. Now we can already see that's an infringement upon itself, because your car is in effect. They can't just run your plates as it's your property on your car, regardless of what the state wants to say. They have no authority over your rights. Okay. Now, modern technology is changing the scale, right? We see flocks. Now we're going from one cop that can just, it's already an infringement for one cop to do it to one car, but now we have flock cameras that are scanning thousands of plates every hour, right? This artificial intelligence is analyzing your travel patterns. The databases are retaining the years of your movement, everywhere you're going, right? Who's in your car, where you're going. And the constitutional question now, therefore, becomes much larger than just one traffic stop. If government, may investigate, if government's claiming can investigate every innocent traveler without individualized cause, what constitutional principle limits permanent surveillance of everybody? Okay, this is not merely a question of technology. This is just a simple question of our constitutional structure. And now here in Carpenter versus Jones, they tell you, okay, it's already been recognized that we have a reasonable expectation in privacy in the whole of our physical movements. Now, how in the world are they fucking tracking and tracing everything you're doing and claiming that's lawful when, again, we've seen our rights are reserved from their general powers, and they're telling you right here that they can't track and trace you because we have expectation of privacy from our servants all the time, okay? Because our rights remain inviolate. They cannot do anything that infringes upon those. Now, as I've shown you before, the constitutional right is defined in Black's Law, a right guaranteed to we the people by the Constitution and so guaranteed as to prevent legislative interference therewith. The Supreme Courts also came out where rights secured by the Constitution are involved. There can be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate them. It's Miranda versus Arizona. Okay, the Constitution was written to preserve the liberty of we the people by limiting the powers of our servants. Okay, this is why we have to make sure that we're staying educated on this, because the vast majority of the things that they're trying to use against us every single day, we absolutely have the power and the duty and the right to destroy, because our rights are self-executing prohibitions against everything they're trying to do. But this is why we have to make sure we are remembering, we have to remember, okay, the constitutions exist primarily to restrain our servants, and this expansion of power becomes limited only by the willingness of we the people to stand up and exercise our rights to put our public servants back in check. All right, I'm going to close this video out. Let's restore our republics.